go. Okay, so here we are with Matt Marino, childhood friend, one of the great guys. And Matt, it's great to see you, first of all.
You as well. Always a pleasure to see you.
Where the heck are you?
I am driving from Maryland, White Marsh, Maryland, to Toms River, New Jersey, to visit my father and to teach him how to cook a little bit.
Oh, beautiful. And he's a great guy. Please say hello.
I will.
What are you going to be cooking?
The basics. Right now that my mother is no longer with us, I have to keep up the meatballs and the gravy, among some other things. Some fish, I got to keep them healthy, so I'm going to teach him how to do some healthy proteins.
Beautiful. And do you have a pretty good gravy recipe? Did you pick it up at any point?
I have my mom's.
Okay.
And it's not a recipe. It's guidelines, as most Italians have.
Yeah, more of a loose system than a finite. Yeah.
That's it, Anthony. So it's I know the steps to take. I'm not quite sure of the measurements, but that pretty much goes with my everyday, right? You just kind of wing it and hope that it comes out okay.
Yeah, you trust that you have the basic direction, and you also have enough experience of improvising, I think, in various realms that it's going to work out pretty well. And if it doesn't, attitude will make up for the rest. And
love. Love that I put in will be okay.
Absolutely. Have you made this before?
I have. Many times.
Okay, so you have feedback.
I do. From tough critics.
All right, good. For example? For instance, who's a tough critic?
6-year-old.
Okay.
Will tell you pretty much straightforward what's good and what's not. And a wife who's a Greek who is around good food her entire life.
Yeah. Grew up on Mediterranean food. No joke. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
That's
and also probably very direct and maybe brutally honest as well. At least when it comes to food.
Very direct, Anthony.
Wow. Yeah. So I don't know if you wanted to really linger on this topic, but that's really a beautiful thing. Just your mom recently passed, and obviously that's tough for everybody. What a great woman, at least as far as I remember, and you light up every time her name is mentioned, and so this is a beautiful thing to obviously food. That's a big part of my world, in my professional world throughout half my life. Food is
I know it is, and
anything a carrier of many things. Yeah.
I say the only time, if you think about it, there's not too many times when you're eating dinner that you cooked, especially when things are pretty good for that 45 minutes to an hour, right? And you tend to forget about some of the other things that might not be so good during your day. And it's a time for, as you know, and I grew up together the same way, dinner's important with your family. We make it a point to sit at the table together and carry on the tradition that my parents gave us with eating and talking and how's your day going and what'd you hear that was funny today? What'd you hear that was sad today? Those are all the types of questions that I'll bring up in our dinner, and it's I think it's a lost art now with the way the world is. I don't think there's a ton of that in the generations anymore, where people will eat and discuss, and it's more an event rather than just functional eating.
Yeah, I've had times. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I sign off on that, and there have been times where I've had a really hard time getting conversation going at the table, not between my wife and me, but the kids, just getting them to talk a little bit. And I don't know if you can relate or if it's totally different.
That's why I'm laughing. It's why I'm laughing, because sometimes it's literally like pulling teeth, and you feel like they have somewhere to be, and they don't, but you feel like they have somewhere to be, and you're interrupting their 6-year-old day.
Yes, and how dare you? Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah, and my kids are going to be 7 and 10. They're 6 and 9 now, so I can relate.
Yep.
Do you have any tricks in your bag? I mean, I know as a dad you've got quite a few tricks. You've told me a handful before, although you know why I record these conversations? Because my memory is so bad. my memory is so awful.
Mine is going too, Anthony. Mine is going too.
If I don't record it, I don't remember what anybody said.
I love it. I wish I could record my life. Honestly, I wish I could. I could record my life on a 24-hour basis. I think it would be a hysterical show, because I am exactly the same person that you see now, that is with my kids, you know, with my work and the coworkers, my family. It's the same person. Everybody always tells me that you are exactly the same when you're talking to work. I hear you, the people I send. So that's, I think it's, I don't know. I feel like I could record myself all day long, and I would love it. I would love it. To watch it back, I think it would be like almost like a Three Stooges or like a Laurel and Hardy film, and I think it would be hysterical. I may do that still.
I assume you're aware that probably most people do not feel that way, and most people, the thought of them recording all day would be like kind of horrifying. So I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but you're a little bit out of the norm here. What do you attribute that to? Obviously you like yourself, so that's good. But
wait, you said say one more time, Anthony, the first part.
It's a little out of the norm for people to be so eager to watch themselves back.
You know what it is? I don't regret anything I've done in my life. I don't apologize for things that that's something I do wrong, obviously, but I just feel like this is my life, right? And I live it every day. I put up with garbage. I have a million happy times, with sports. That's a giant component to my life. And I'm unfiltered. And I don't feel like I need to be filtered. I'm not rude. I'm not racist. I'm not prejudiced. I don't care about any of that. Like, literally, I don't care about any of that. Yeah. I want to watch a game with anybody. And I want to eat snacks with anybody. I don't care what their political view is. I don't care who they like, the teams they like. It's all of that I don't care. I don't care about the other stuff.
Yeah.
Do I look at it and do I see what's happening in the world? Of course. But I'm not a guy that sits there. I can't watch the local news and this person did this and this person did that. They took down the statue of this in Little Italy. Does it irritate me a tiny bit? Sure. But not because I'm Italian. Just because I think it's silly to vandalize or something like that. But at the end of the day, if you came up to me and said, hey, you want to go watch the Yankee game? I would watch the Yankee game with that person. And I would still, it's just the way I am.
Some things cut through, sports, food. I mean, there's, and actually we've been missing both sports and food. And I think part of what we're seeing, like culturally, is a byproduct of that.
Yes.
There's a lot of pent up energy that's not being spent in communal ways that are fun and healthy, Yeah,
and then throw in COVID-19 into this, and I look at the kids, and I really do look at my kids, and I'm not only proud of them for what they're doing in this time, but I'm amazed at their adaptability, the way that a 6-year-old now has their world flipped upside down. Adults, it's flipped for us too, but we have the means to deal with it, or at least we try to. 6-year-olds, wouldn't think have the skill set or the background to deal with that, but he is. right? He's learning. He can budget his time, because that's something my wife and I teach, is budgeting your time. Right? My kids, Nate does. He gets a little bit more. But Marco, my 6-year-old, does not get video games during the week. Doesn't get video games or candy during the week. And that hasn't changed just because COVID and he's home all the time. He still doesn't get that. So I'm just amazed at what they're able to deal with and navigate through a day and not totally lose their bananas most of the time.
Yeah, give me some tips.
Shocking.
Give me some tips. I agree. My kids are really doing fantastic, but but I
therapy.
I don't have a lot of ideas. I'm not the best father in the world. I mean, I'm pretty good. But
I disagree. If your kids love you, Anthony, you're doing something right.
Yeah,
and they always love you. But if they want to be around you, I say,
yes.
Not just love, right? You're the innate feeling is love. You have to have that, I guess. But to want to be around you, and to want to hang out with you, and to want to play a game, and instead of doing their own thing, that's proof positive for me that they're unfiltered. My 6-year-old will tell me, I don't want to play with you right now.
Yeah.
But they don't, right? So I think the tips, first of all, is therapy. 100% my therapist, who, if I don't have that, I might fly off the rails and go crazy in this COVID. I mean, what he's taught me, and I started seeing him about a year before my heart surgery, or maybe 6 months before my heart surgery. And his whole thing, what he was able to distinguish talking to me within maybe a couple sessions, was slowing down. He goes, you are top speed your whole life. Like, you are top speed. You go from one thing to another. You're passionate about work. The way you talk to me, he was saying, the way you talk about someone accepting their offer and finding them, and the way you talk about cooking and eating, and the way you talk about sports. My therapist is a gigantic Yankee fan from New York. He's down in Maryland, and he's a huge Yankee fan, about 65 years old. And he's like, you got to slow down. I want to teach you to slow down, because once you have your heart surgery, you're going to be forced to slow down. And you're not going to know what to do with yourself. He goes, yeah, you can watch your sports on TV, but what's going to fill up the other 21 hours? Instead of the Yankee game for 3 hours. So I think slowing down with the kids, that's going back to that. That's what I've learned the most. That helps me the most with the kids. Slowing down, not snapping as quick at them, realizing that they're going through the same thing you're going through with this weird time, realizing that they have opinions and whatever, just like I do. And just because he yells at me doesn't mean to yell back. There's sometimes, of course, when they do it.
Hey, Matt, I'm going to pause for a moment. Matt, can you hear me? Okay, yeah, we were just glitching a little bit there. So as far as slowing down, do you have any practical, in the moment, micro tips at all? Do you have a keyword or something you say to yourself, or pinch your hand or something? Or?
I think of two things, and it's archaic. There's no, it's not some novel, brand new. So it's, first off, is I think of someone in my life that I've lost. Up until this point, it was someone, either my grandpa or whatever, who was super patient, right? My grandpa was super patient, and I think of his name. I think of what he would do, so I immediately put that in my mind. Now I use my mother, and I think of her immediately, and it immediately takes it from a 10 to a 6 or a 7, just by doing that one thing. Because it focuses you in on, what am I going to yell at him for throwing a piece of putty on the wall?
Yeah.
When my mom was so patient with me, who was a menace probably growing up, right? I mean, I was a nice kid, but I was nuts. I was involved in a lot of stuff. So I use that first. And then the other one is just counting. Count to 10. Count to 10 and look at their face. Right? I look at his face and immediately I'm like, all right, what are you going to do? Blast this kid for what? What's it going to do? He's just going to yell back at you because they mirror everything that we do. So I take the 10 seconds. I think of my mom. And hopefully it dies from a 10 to a 3. Right? It's not going to go to 0. It never will with me, ever. Just because I have some irritation in me that it's why I go to therapy. And I'll continue to go for the rest of my life.
Okay.
So I think that part is, it's just slowing it down, right? It's not canceling it. It's just slowing it down a little bit. Slowing down your reaction time. And I do with my wife. You know, I'm not a go to bed angry guy. But sometimes I'll tell her, look, I'm pissed. I'm irritated right now. I'm not trying to go to bed angry. It's not what I'm trying to do. But I'll explain it to her.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving her in the dark because then you know, then that whirls into problems. But I'll tell her, look, I'm not in a place where I want to have a discussion right now. Like an hour-long discussion because I know that she has long discussions.
Yeah.
I said, but let's do it in the morning. When I have a cup of coffee, I didn't have a crazy day, I will revisit it with you. So that's the key too, is even with my kids, if there's something I don't want to address right away with them, I'll tell them to go play and then we'll talk about it later. And I think by that time, it dies down a little bit. And you can focus and be like, wow, I told them to wait a half hour. Within that 30 minutes, stuff almost hit the fan at work. This was crazy. I got this news that this was happening. And then once you get to that 30 minutes and you talk to them, it's the most insignificant problem in the world that you have. The fact that he did something. So I'm not a huge enforcer of punishment for things that don't warrant it, I feel. There's behaviors that warrant punishment for kids, right? Not hit. I'm never hit. I mean, I can't imagine ever doing that. But there's things that warrant it, right? You purposely throw a ball when I told you not to, and it breaks the lamp. You got to have a little bit of consequence there to understand what happened. Am I still going to go off the rails? Probably not. Just because I'm like, all right, it's a lamp. I'll fix it. It's not that big of a deal.
So when you go from like a 10 to a 6 and then maybe down to a 3 or 4, what happens at the 3 or 4 level? What's the typical move you might make there?
You know, a 3 or 4 level might be me having a little bit of irritation behind it, but not like a tyrant. And then being able to have a discussion.
Yeah, or to postpone.
It's not a fun discussion because it's a 3 or 4.
Or to postpone the discussion, to at least be cognizant of like, you know, we'll talk about this in a half hour.
That's it. It enables me to do that. It enables me to step back, and I'll say it a million times, slow down.
How on earth are you feeling 16, 18 hours a day, a 6-year-old, without any devices?
So he gets a little bit of iPad, a little bit, which is geared towards learning. So whether it's not really ABC Mouse or anything like that. They have a couple of things that they use for kindergarten. So I extend those things as if he were still in school. He actually goes to daycare now 3 days a week. That's at the Greek church, which is where he went as a little boy.
Okay.
And I trusted, right? That took a while to get the trusting part, but they put a lot of measures in place. And so that helps because he does have his outdoor activity. He loves being outside.
Okay.
So he'll go outside for an hour to play in the backyard. We have a nice backyard with a swings, a whole playground area. We make it a point to do bike rides as a family or walk around our neighborhood now that COVID came along. We do, like a half hour to an hour walk, even when Nate is there, my 12-year-old. So you try to fill it in. You let him watch, he gets some TV. And then it's a matter of what we did. Figure it out.
Yeah.
You have every toy in the world. You know, it's and it makes me laugh. The thing that gets me the most, that gets me not irritated, but I wonder is, I'm bored. What do you mean you're bored? Like, there's 1,000 things you can do. Draw, go draw, make a craft. Take everything that you have. Oh, just give me 1 second. There's like a major thing happening. Ambulances everywhere. Wow. There's a complete tractor trailer flipped over.
Yeah, somebody's life is just upside down right now.
Right now, you know, and that's so funny you say that. Denise and I think that all the time. So going back to it, yeah, I mean, it's, you fill him up, you encourage him. I let him sit with me sometimes and watch me work because he's fascinated by what's happening and the systems that I'm using, and he likes to watch that. But it's sometimes he just has to figure it out, you know. And look, Saturday comes, it's like he was let out of jail. But we're okay with that, right? Because there has to be some sort of structure is the way we look at it. You know, bedtimes. Nate, I'll give you an instance. 12-year-old bedtime. At his mom's, again, we split, you know, right down the middle and very amicable and everything's great. But his mom will let him stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. But he sleeps late. And that's okay. So he's getting his rest. But I'm a structure person. He knows when he comes to my house, 10 o'clock is the latest. And he's going to go up. And I don't care if he reads in bed for 2 hours, which he does.
Are you a structure person by personality, by your genes make you a structure person, or is that something you think has developed in some way?
Both. I think it goes back to when we were little. I can remember going to bed. I can remember going to bed after the Muppet Show was over, which we're dating ourselves, right? But after the Muppet Show was over, and the ice cream truck was still outside. And I could hear the ice cream truck outside and kids running to the ice cream truck and me wondering, like, the Muppet Show just ended and I'm going to bed. What's happening? And as you get older and you realize the structure that your parents put into you, and you realize how hard of a worker you are and how successful things are, not by what your job is at all. It's not what I'm saying. By how successful you are. You know, are you a good person? Do you treat other people in a good way? You know, all of that all comes from structure and being around your family. And you and I we're blessed with having that. I mean, there's not, you know, a lot of people I talk to did not grow up with what we grew up with, Anthony. Yeah. And I thank God every day. I thank the fact that I can remember, and, you know, my memory's not awesome anymore, but I can remember growing up, and I can remember things we did as children, my brothers and I, and how happy we were as kids. Close, right? I mean, think about it. There's families don't exist that many kids now. People are stopping. I can never have another child. I know for a fact 2 is my limit.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I think it's just, I don't know, loving them.
I have 2 questions, and take either one, unless you want to combine them. But I'm interested when you said your life has coherence and your personality, like in all aspects. In other words, you feel like you're the same person. You're kind of integrated in all the different domains of your life. And I think that's somewhat not always so common. And my second question is, you just brought up the concept of success, and like, how do you think or talk about it?
Let's do both. Let's do the success one first. So first off, I look at it as there's so many levels of success, right? One, is it easy to go to your job? Yeah, great. You have a wonderful job, and that's great. It's rewarding. And are you helping people at all? You know, that's the easy way of looking. That's how most people look at success, right? How much money do you have or anything like that? I'm blessed, right? Me and my wife both have really good jobs. I feel what I do is it saving the world? Not even close. Is it helping people that need jobs, right? And I get one and they help their family and now they can afford things for their family. And so I look at it as that's my way of doing it. That's about all. I'm not going to go into some philosophical about my job, right? Of how great I am and how great I help people. There's doctors for that and teachers for that, right? To take on that responsibility. But I still am proud of what I do. And my wife, I'm proud of what she does for the hospital and whatever. Then there's the level of family, right? And friends, right? So I measure not so much success, but I measure your happiness, right? So even if I don't have a job, but I have friends and family that love me and that I can talk to about anything and they understand me. And that's the second level, right? So even if you don't have the job, fine. As long as you got that, you're good. If you don't have that, are you still here? Am I still here? I went through heart surgery, open heart surgery. I'm here, right? I feel pretty damn good for having open heart surgery. I don't even think about my heart surgery, to be honest with you. I just think of that I'm here, that I feel good. Do I get my aches and pains? Yeah. Does it make me think, uh-oh, something might be wrong? Sure it does. That's a natural thing because I went through a major surgery. But so it all goes to, that's how I look at it is, it goes, the job, that's wonderful. But do I have my friends and family? And if not, if nobody's around and I'm by myself, how do I feel? Right? How do I feel? I feel good. I'm here. I'm going strong. That's it, man. It's not so much success. It's happiness and success, I would say. Because if you have those things, you're always going to be all right, is how I feel.
Do you ever have dark thoughts, or do you have any habitual returning? I'm not looking for specific demons or anything, but just like it sounds like you said, even when you're alone, you have a strategy for remaining positive. That's what I heard.
Do, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have thoughts mostly at night, which is when our brains start to hyper focus on a topic because there's no escaping, there's no alternatives to your day. You're laying on the pillow, and unless you want to pick up your phone or something and distract yourself, it's you and your thought, right? So, and sometimes that's a really good thing. Sometimes I do a lot of my thinking, and with me, where I try to come up with comedy stuff, that's mostly where my stuff comes up, is when I'm laying there and I crack myself up almost, laying by myself while my wife is sleeping, and I'm laughing at something by myself. So, but those thoughts at night, I do have dark thoughts. I think mostly the thought is not so much a pain or anything like that. It's more, oh no, please don't let something happen to me early and let my children not have their daddy.
Yeah.
That's my thought. It's never about me dying and the feeling of me dying. Oh no, I'm going to be hurt. Or it's not about that. It's more about leaving Denise, who will be strong and will be great, but it's my kids. It's always about my kids, right? I do 90% of the things I do. Not 90. 75 are for my kids. I think if they're happy and I see them smiling, and there's so many times, even now with sports, I'll, Daddy, can I put on Peppa Pig? And it's like the bottom of the 8th or whatever it is, or 7th, and can I put on, and so it's all about them, Anthony. So I think the dark thoughts come around that. But that's it. It never goes past that, like, oh no, I don't want to die, or it's really, what will my kids do? Will they be okay? And they will. They will. And that's what gets me through it is, God forbid something happens, they're going to be all right. They'll be in pain, but they'll be all right. And so, that's how I sort of get through the dark thought. But that's really it. That's the only dark thoughts I have.
So even when I try to get you to talk about dark stuff, you end up talking about laying in bed, cracking up, coming up with comedy. So
Yeah, I don't spend
yeah,
a lot of time on that part. I
you
don't.
just
I really don't. I don't spend a lot of time on it. I feel like I'm a happy guy in
yeah.
general, and I don't need much, Anthony. I feel like you're the same exact way, right? I feel like if I'm just there with a book, I'm happy. Or if I'm there with any game, it doesn't matter. I love it. And if I'm just there with my kid and just sitting there, it's so easy for me to be okay.
You've always been sort of a grandpa ever since childhood. You're like the Italian grandpa, in sixth
I want to
grade.
sit there. Give me a glass of a diet iced tea.
Are you glad you had heart surgery? And also, forgive me for forgetting the details, but could you tell me
Yeah,
what that was again? Like, what?
yeah. So
I
I
know it was an
had.
unusual situation.
It was unusual, Anthony. So I was born 41 years later from being born. I started to have pains in my neck. And I thought, well, am I just out of shape? Am I getting tired? It was all the time, right? It was really happening when it was cold out. And now that I look back, it's because your things constrict when it's cold. Your body constricts, right? It's why we're told to keep our chests covered and warm, so the circulation of our heart and our blood is working well, right? All of that. So I was getting these pains, and especially I remember it happening. I was at a Giants game, and the game was over. My brother and I were running back to our car to get out of the parking lot, as my brother always does, running in the cold to beat everybody to the car so we could get out of the parking lot. And I remember getting to the car and literally feeling like I was going to have a heart attack or something. So much pain, and I knew, and I had to take and breathe for 5 minutes in the car. My brother said, "What's up?" And I was like, "Something's wrong, man." Went to the doctor with encouragement from my wife, because sometimes we,
Oh,
as gentlemen, don't.
you didn't go that night then?
Oh no. This was,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Let it go. I waited, told my wife. She's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "You need a checkup anyway. Please go get your heart checked and all that stuff."
Mm.
So I did. Her being the senior director in the University of Maryland Medical Center, I have really good hookups to all the chiefs and some of the best care that period you're gonna get. So I saw the chief of cardiology, and he said to me they did some tests, and I had what's called a regurgitation. Right, your heart's half of the blood's pumping out of your heart, but half of it was going back into the heart, which enlarges it, Anthony. That's what happens. And I almost had the heart of a 400-pound guy, just because it was getting enlarged from all this work it was doing, and only pumping half of the. You can picture that with anything, right? All the pressure and something going full speed, but only working halfway. It's going to combust at some point.
Yeah.
So he checked me out, and I found out, and he said the worst case scenario is you'll need open heart surgery. And the worst thing would be is that your valve is bicuspid, which means it's normal valves for your heart are tricuspid. It almost looks like a Mercedes symbol that opens and closes so rapidly that the blood can't go back in. I only had 2 instead of 3 points. So it didn't close as quick. And eventually, 41 years later, it built up. And that's what I was feeling. So the surgery was to go in and put a new valve in my heart. And while they were in there, I didn't know this, they found an aneurysm, and they had to do a bypass. So hearing that, you asked me, was it good? Was I happy I had heart surgery? Damn straight that I was happy my valve wasn't working, because that's something they can fix and know and see. The other stuff they couldn't really see as much, and luckily when they went in, they were able to fix it. Right? So who knows what would have happened, right? So I even look at my heart surgery as a blessing, to answer your question.
Yeah.
I also at the time was in a really stressful place with work, and I felt like, this is crazy, I would love to go through heart surgery again to get out of work for 3 months.
Yeah.
And I'm not lying. It was so stressful, my work situation, that I felt like the 3 months off, after the first month of healing and recuperating, I felt pretty good after a month. My chest still hurt. They saw it, whatever, without getting into the details. They cut you open, man. And yeah, your pain is here. You can't lift a gallon of milk even, or not. You have no strength. But I built that back up. And then after a month, I'm sitting home and I realize I have 2 months of being home, not responsible for work. And I was feeling kind of okay. So I went to the movies and I went to the casino and I went out to lunch myself and would eat lunch all the time by myself and sit there. And I got to tell you, when you asked if it was I'm happy, yes. So the blessing was I found something else wrong that I maybe would have exploded some other time. And I got to recuperate my mind and get away from a stressful situation at work for 3 months. And then when I went back, I switched teams to the team I'm on now. And it's the best thing that's ever happened for work. So it all kind of led to a change in my life in a bunch of different ways.
I keep hearing the Italian grandpa theme running through my head. Even with the heart surgery, you're ahead of your time constantly. Going to the casino.
42 with open. I tell people, they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah. Do you want to see the scar or watch the video?" I actually have the video of the surgery because I was the first patient in Maryland and second in the United States. It was happening at the same time, the same day, to receive this special valve that was just approved. And it was in the UK for years, and they finally approved it. I was the first one in Maryland and second person in the United States to get this valve. And so they videoed my whole thing. They did it complete. I had to send it to you. You would enjoy watching it. So
we'll put it in the show notes.
It looks like a marionette in my chest is what it looked like.
What do you do for work now?
I'm a client lead, so a recruiting manager, client lead for Amazon's devices, the software and service. So I'm in charge of all of North America for the software and the services of devices. So you have a Kindle tablet, you have a Fire Stick, you have an Echo, the software and the services that are provided for those.
Matt, hang on just 1 second, right?
Yep.
Go ahead. Okay, Matt, I just had a little interruption. I had to say good morning to my daughter and set her up.
I'm used to that.
Yeah,
all day.
And she said, "I thought that was you on screen." She goes, "Oh, he looks just like you."
We all come from the same cloth.
Yeah. So, what is your technical title? And
I am a senior.
Trust me, I know nothing about this world
at all.
It's great. So tell me like I'm completely naive.
Yeah, I am a senior client lead recruiter for Amazon's devices, software and service in North America.
Which means
I recruit for Amazon devices. We know what that is, right? We know I have Fire Sticks and tablets and all of that.
Yeah.
My group is in charge of the software for those and the services provided for those, such as frustration-free setup when you get your tablet. That's one of the groups that's under my umbrella. And what I do is hire for those groups across North America. So it revolves a lot around software development managers, project engineers, software development engineers, your coders, your programmers. So similar to what Eric.
Oh, okay.
When I watched that and I heard as a programmer, I can understand where he's coming from and the things that he's working on.
Emergency alert. Oh. Apparently there's a tornado coming, but that's okay. All right.
Why wouldn't there be? Why wouldn't there be?
Do you have to know? So do you have any of the knowledge that Eric would have, or do you have a totally different set?
I have a set, right? I come from a sales background, that. So I don't have the knowledge that they have, not even close. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. And I've come to see that, even someone out of school with 2 years, 3 years experience, the way that their mind works, you have to be a special person to be able to work in that way. I know a lot of what happens now and what leads to what, and the different phases of what a programmer has to go through, and designing systems and things like that. There's different things for each person, whether you're a front end engineer or whether you deal with the back end of it and the web services part of it. Do you handle the quality assurance piece of it? Are you testing for bugs? All of that, right? It's like a chain. This person develops this. We need QA people to check it out. It goes for anything. There's quality assurance in everything we do, right? Even you as a teacher, whatever. There's quality assurance happening when they're reviewing curriculum and whatever. And so that type of stuff, I think it's, I know enough. I constantly, so this is where I might be a little different. I don't mind being super vocally self-critical about myself. And if I don't know something, I have no problem admitting I don't know that. Like, please tell me, please enlighten me on what that is, because I'm then going to use that for my next conversation. And it's the only way I've been able to understand sort of what these programmers do. I know enough to say that I would never want to do it. I don't have that ability to sit in front of that computer and just wail away at the keyboard without having super interaction with people.
And your job is super high interaction, I would imagine, right?
I have upwards
tell me about like the practical elements.
Yeah.
What do you do?
They task me with, here, Matt, here's the jobs we need to fill. At any given time, it's between 40 and 50 different jobs. It's Amazon.
Yeah.
So they don't stop hiring. Even in a pandemic, it gets busier. So, Matt, here's what we have to find. I then will schedule a conversation with the manager. Let's talk about it. Let me see what makes this person different from another job with the same title. What are the nuances you're looking for? And then now it's time to go find them. So, I have ways that I've developed over 18 years of recruiting to say, I know how to find these people, where to go, how to, do a 3-line search string inside of Google that'll pull up people's resumes that you would never find on a job board.
Okay.
So creative ways, Anthony. I'm not sitting on monster.com finding a resume. Those people are not the people that I'm going to find for my jobs. You don't have software development managers that are basically applying to a job at Amazon. If they're that good, they're either working or they're through LinkedIn or whatever it is, they've gotten their name touched on. So then I put them through a whole process. I interview them myself. I talk to them, make sure they can handle just at least talking to me, because the conversations that are going to occur after that are tough. For instance, the vice president of my group, which I handle, Devices, Software, and Service, his name is Charlie Ward, and he's the guy that developed Amazon Prime.
Okay.
He was the engineer that came up with the idea for it and put it in a suggestion box 20, how many years ago it was, and he developed Amazon Prime. And he's extremely humble, extremely grounded. He's been with Amazon 21 years, which is an eternity, considering Bezos is only there for 25. So he was like the 101st person hired at Amazon, period. Right? So this is a guy you get to work with every day, learn from him. But it's a matter of just finding people that fit into the mold of that. We get them, we put them through interviews, they get interviewed. I do a debrief with them, I prep them for it's a full process from finding them to finally extending the offer and then getting them aboard, right? But when I hire them, the best part is for me, if it's a manager level, which most of my jobs are, I now get to have a different relationship with them. And as a manager, I'm now hiring for them, for the team that they're going to start.
Got it.
And what you get is you get a built-in trust level with them. because you've been working with them for 2 months and you found them out of nowhere and you've learned about their life, you've learned about their children, whether they're married or not, or what they love to do. And I now have a relationship with this person. And then I try to continue and foster those relationships. And then again, you keep building trust that way.
Yeah, and the network grows. My brother is going to love listening to this section of the chat.
I follow your brother a lot.
Yeah, he's a contestant producer for various TV shows, and part of what he does is just find people and get to know them and learn about their life and try to sort of reshape their story in a way that translates to TV, and sometimes their lives change because they win, $25,000 or something, and it's pretty cool. So does anybody, do people know your name? Like, do they find you, or is it more like you would find them?
If you Google my name, it's going to come up with Amazon stuff probably.
But I mean, somebody who's looking for that type of position,
yeah.
would they know to seek you out, or not so much?
Not so much. I mean, unless they're on LinkedIn, look, I have a ton of connections on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty, and I post some messages here and there, but I have jobs under me. So for that reason, yeah, but if you said, hey, this guy, Matt Marino, they would say, who the hell is that?
Yeah, which is nice.
Which is good, right, exactly. Yeah. I'm known when I start engaging. And when I start engaging and I get on the hunt, people will know me because I'm saturating with messages, and it's relentless. Because look, these people that I'm dealing with, while everybody might say, must be so easy to hire someone on Amazon. Why wouldn't they want to work there? Well, the answer is because they have 3 other offers with Facebook, Google, and wherever else.
Yeah.
And all of those are pretty good companies too. And they're going to make a lot of money no matter which one they go to. So you really have to separate yourself, which is where I take pride in the relationship building that I do with the candidate on the front end, instead of treating them as like a number, right? I try to be completely personal with them and get in my life with them, and how my life has changed since I started at Amazon. And I don't think that that's happening with the run-of-the-mill recruiter at another company.
Okay, so you're going to do a lot more first-person stuff when you're
a ton.
Right up. Okay, all right.
A ton, even to the offer stage, Anthony, where I get personal and go into what my offer was and how I've been able to do things in my life with how the offer is structured with stock, and I just believe in being transparent with them, because then they can actually see, wow, so my stock is going to come in year 2, and you can sell some of that. Well, and you can put it towards whatever you want. And so I put it in my kids' college funds, right? So I talk about that, and it gives a level of.
So you paint the whole picture. Yeah, you paint the picture of the full package. When you started this industry, I don't know how long you've been recruiting for, but what was
about 18 years.
What was that like, and what was your initial skill set, and how much faking did you have to do to sort of work your way into it?
So I was in sales out of college for MetLife, worked under my brother, which was the hardest thing in the world. People think that was I had it made. It was quite the opposite. If you know my brother Michael,
yeah,
it's very, very rigid and very tough on me, which was a blessing. And I was in sales, and I love sales. I love talking to people. I think that's pretty obvious. And I just, 9/11 hit, and I had to deliver as a 20, how old were we? 25, right? I think we were 25. As a 25-year-old, I had to deliver now a bunch of death claims, death checks, right, to these widows. One of my clients was Cantor Fitzgerald, and I had a bunch of people from Cantor Fitzgerald that that had major policies. We're talking $3 or $4 million death benefits. So here I am, 25, trekking into Manhattan, all to deliver a check for $4 million, let's say, to a widow, and her children are there, and they're crying to me. And I'm like, wow, life insurance sales, this is the bad part of it. You know, look, on one end, I'm the guy that's not asking them for anything. I'm bringing them something to really help their family and let them know that their husband or wife took care of them, thought of them to take care of them. Anthony, I'm 25. That is not what I signed up for, right? That was emotional. Seeing, like, on a given week, I'd have two people. I'd go into their houses with them weeping. I mean, I couldn't handle it anymore. So I was like, I got to get out of this thing. And I love sales, so I want to do something with sales. One of my clients who I sold life insurance to, him and his wife at their dinner table, told me, he's like, look, I'm a recruiting manager for a staffing agency. He goes, if no one has been able to, it's tough to sell me something in my house even and sit at my dinner table where I eat with my children. But you were able to sell my wife, who is impossible. He goes, you were able to sit here and sell us both policies at our dinner table because you were a normal guy. He goes, I would love to have you as a recruiter because I can only imagine you selling people for jobs and selling them a job and getting them to accept their offer. He's like, I can only imagine how good you would be. He says, if you ever decide to leave life insurance, give me a ring. So I did. I gave him a ring, went in, did like a day in the office with him. And I already had a trust level with him, which was huge. So I decided I was going to make the move. I liked what I saw. I got to go to different companies during the day and see if they needed people to, hired, if they had a job opening, if they were having trouble filling it, how could I help? It was awesome. It was me out in the world selling, and then I would get to talk to people about getting them the job, which they really needed. To me, it was a win. Like, I'm selling jobs to people. I don't have to worry about anybody dying.
Yeah.
And I told my brother, which was the hardest thing, I said, I'm leaving. And he was like, what did I do wrong? I mean, it was like, but I said, going to these Giant games every week, as you know, I had season tickets. I still have season tickets. I was sitting there with my brother, and he would always grill me about work. And I'm like, this is not fun. Like, you as my manager is good, but we're going to the Giant game. We not talk about that. So when I left him, it was the hardest thing I had to do, tell him. But I said to him, now I could be your brother again.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And so that made our relationship so much better. And we then had the greatest times. And now we talk about it, and he goes, you're so successful. You've jumped so and made things happen for yourself. It's not easy to get hired in Amazon. It's a super tough bar to get in. And he's like, you killed it, and you got promoted, and you're a lead. And he's like, it was the best thing you ever did. And I said, no kidding. And I said, and then I laughed, and I said, yeah, we got to enjoy the games for the next 14 years or whatever it was. So, I have sales in my blood. Recruiting is sales. I just have two different customers, right? I have a candidate and I have a manager that I have to sell both into. So it's matchmaking, Anthony. And I did a presentation on how recruiting is matchmaking. You have your initial date, you chat on the phone, you have your initial date, you meet up, right, for that first interview. Things go along, you talk to them a little more about the job. Then you have them meet with your friend, who's like the first interviewer. Then after that, they have to come on site for their final interview. That's meeting the family. Yeah. Right, all of that. So I did it, and it's funny when you think of it that way. And I mention that to candidates, and they laugh. And it's so it's still sales. I have sales in my blood. It's just I'm getting people jobs instead of bringing them a death check.
Interesting. Have you done any formal study of persuasion or interpersonal stuff or communication, or is it sort of just organically developed?
Yeah, it's organic. I don't have a script. I never go off of a script. There are scripts for recruiting that they hand out to you and anywhere. And especially, look, I work with a lot of newer workers in the world. So 25 or less. And I'm a mentor to a lot of them. They look up to me as, having a backbone. One thing Amazon encourages and hires, they have leadership principles, Amazon, that they follow. There's 14 leadership principles. And I apply them in my daily routine too. It's funny how I bought in, and one of them is having a backbone and disagreeing and commit. That's one of the leadership principles they want you to have. So they measure you on the interview and ask you times that you've disagreed with your manager, and why, and what was the outcome, and what happened, what did you do, and did you stick to it? Even though if you think that look, if there's 100 people that say the sky is blue, and I'm one and I say it's green because I have data that it's green, I'm sticking with green. You're not going to tell me any differently. Now, when I'm wrong, which I probably will be in that case, I'm going to come back around, though, and I'm going to be vocally self-critical and say, look, that's on me. But I had data, and I'm going to follow my data. But now that I'm wrong, and we prove it, let's hear what you have to say. As 2 Amazon trucks pull onto the road that I'm on right now.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
So it's organic, and it's
Can you
all
advise?
of that. And
do you have any generic or general advice for, let's say, some potential client who's going to sit down with you for the first time? I know you're going to say just be yourself, but in addition to that,
you have to be empathetic. Every situation is completely different, so you need to be empathetic and understand what's motivating them.
No, for advice that you would give to them. I mean,
advice to them.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So with a candidate, let's say you're speaking, right? So first thing I would always tell them up front, and I think this helps, is I'm very excited to get you in the process for Amazon, and I want you to work at Amazon. It's more important to me that you find the right fit for your next career, for your family, wherever that is. So if we're going along and I feel that this might not be the right move for you, I'm going to let you know that. Right? And I think that there's times when they get 2 offers, ours and somewhere else, and I know that the other offer makes more sense for them, or that the other job is better for them. And I tell them to turn down our offer. Right? So I think that's the part that I separate myself, and that I want them to know is I actually care that you get the right thing for your family. I have children, and I know what a good job makes the relationship you can have at home, or what a stressful one has, which is what I came from. So I think that's my advice to them. It's just make sure you're picking the right opportunity for your family and yourself, not just because you want a job at Amazon. And that's my main advice to them.
What if somebody's sort of obscure but very talented, and they have no sort of outward credentials that are obvious, and they want to get into this sort of position? Is there anything that person could do? And they have the chops, they have the skills. Is there anything you could offer that person advice-wise?
It depends on how aligned they are with the job that they're looking at, right? So if they're looking at something and they're not aligned, I'm going to be blatantly honest with them and say, I think it's good that you want to get into this. You're going to have to get training or experience in it somewhere. So I'm very honest in a nice way. But I just know where it would go if I started to put them through the process. It would be an extremely frustrating process to them.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing I ever want to do for a candidate, is be discouraging.
So very, very few people you hire are finding you. It's you finding them, I would imagine.
Yes. Unless they are, which is one of the things I love, is an employee referral. When someone refers them to me, I take that as go talk to Matt. That's the times I really enjoy those conversations, because now I know someone I've hired thinks enough of me to say, you're in good hands with Matt.
Yeah.
Go talk to him. That's the ultimate flattery for me.
Have you had any leaps in your life? Let me get this question right. Leaps where you're at one stage and then you had to overcome something very difficult. And through the overcoming, through resolving the problem, sort of changed your directory, your trajectory in some way. Is that question bringing anything to mind at all, or
Yeah,
not so
and
much?
instantly, Anthony. So for me, I was dealing with this other group at Amazon.
And this question doesn't have to be like work related, but just a
Yeah,
general
it is.
question.
I get it, but it definitely brings me to that point where I was dealing with a team that they hated recruiting. They hated it. They didn't believe in it. They thought they knew how to recruit better. And these are software people. It's, stay in your lane. So I was defensive. And I was with a manager. I got tossed around to a couple different managers in the same team. And I never had a good sit down with them. And so I didn't know the personalities of the team, really. Nobody guided me in that. I was thrown into this group. Then I left there and got with my manager who originally hired me, went back to her, who I thought is outstanding. She's great. And we had a sit down, and look, this group that I came to was also a group that was having issues with recruiting. They were difficult. They didn't believe in the people that were before me. So we had to sit down, and it was like a eureka moment where we talked about not being defensive and being consultative in a different way. And I said, all right, let me try that, because my other go-to would have been to really be strong with the manager, right? And go at them a little bit, because I feel like that's what they need sometimes. Well, I did it the other way now. And it was a moment where I went in there, I listened instead of taking charge and be like, I got this, let me go in there and tell them how it's done in recruiting. And I took the other approach, and I listened for my manager, understood what the pain points were. And from that day on, my relationship, we are like this, right? And it was all because I was able to earn their trust in the beginning by doing that. And what did it take me? 40 years of my life to understand that you don't have to be a tough guy all the time to do that. And it took a very wise manager who, she is where she is for a reason. And she's younger than me. She's 6 years younger than me. And that was the other thing, is I let my guard down. It taught me to let my guard down and accept and learn all the time. That I wasn't too New York or New Jersey. These people are Seattle. It's a different mindset, right? And I didn't have to be the tough guy. I didn't have to be aggressive. And that was a moment for me. And I use it every day now. And it helps me with the kids. It helps me with my kids in listening to them and learning something from them. And Marco taught me something the other day. He taught me the juice boxes. Juice boxes, which every kid spills and squeezes. Those two flaps on the side, on the top, like a carton, if you peel them up, those are called wings. And that's how you grab the juice box that it won't spill.
Thank you, Marco. Okay, I'll be sure to pass that along.
I was floored. And I was like, you are awesome. And I told him, I said, that was awesome, buddy. Thank you for teaching me that. And Nate constantly teaches me things. I mean, he's starting to code now as a 12-year-old. So he's in that line of work, right? So I can talk to him about that. And I've hooked him up with engineers in Amazon. I took him to Amazon with me and taught him that you always want to learn, and daddy always learns. And so that's the moment, man. Me going up with my new manager and having a really heart-to-heart sit down, she was awesome.
Would you identify yourself as a learner? Hold on. Like if you had 5 adjectives or so to describe yourself, would learner be one of them?
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah.
What makes you say so?
Yeah. I definitely think that, and I think having, I don't know how people view therapy and whatever. It has a stigma to it, right? We all know that. But being able to let your guard down and be completely open and have someone be critical as well, if you're, not in a horrible way, and then have someone teach you to slow down. And so I definitely would consider myself a learner and open to learning, which is you have to be open to it. But I think I'm definitely a learner. I'm also someone who will learn something pretty quickly, or try to at least, and think I did, and then try to spread it.
Right.
Not easy sometimes, right? When you maybe don't have a grasp of the full material that you learned, to try and then flip it and try to teach others. So I think I do that to a fault sometimes.
Can you give me an example?
It can be, let's say my therapist, right? Learning to slow down and take a breath, and then, being the end all be all, like, I know everything now. And I want to tell everybody, all you got to do is slow down. And
yeah,
there's so many variables and things. And, it's like learning a new thing for work, a new way to source, or a new way to find candidates, and going out and being like, well, here's what you got to do, not realizing that other people are sourcing different jobs, and the method I'm using might not work for them, for what they're looking for. So I think I tend sometimes to jump the gun a little bit and try to teach what I think I know and what I've learned, which I really haven't fully learned it yet. And I think that's my flaw. One of my flaws is trying to, and I don't think I'm doing it in a bad way to be like, I know everything. It's more like, hey, I just learned this. I'd love to share it with you. But I'm doing it without having a full knowledge of everything. And I think that's a fault sometimes.
Rooted in enthusiasm, I would imagine.
It is. That's what it is, Anthony. I get excited. I get overly excited with a lot of things. How's
the comedy going?
It's good. I still do it. I'm writing things down, and it was I looked at COVID, as being, it makes me laugh, right, with where we're at right now. And I think of someone robbing a bank, and how awesome of a time it is for crime and things like that. Like, what a good time to be a criminal. I mean, it's amazing time to be a criminal, right? And there's no facial recognition anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. So, and you can get away with it. So I thought of that, and these are the things that come to my mind. And just, I saw a homeless guy on the street, and there's a lot of that in Baltimore, and I always feel for them. And I actually was envious for a second. And I was like, I'm a little envious. This guy sitting there, he had a tent thing. He had a dog with him. He had like a Gatorade in his hand. And I thought to myself, it was like a really nice day out. And I thought to myself that a little piece of me was envious that he didn't have to deal with, he didn't have a mask on because he's outside. And I was like, I feel envious of this homeless guy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's comedy, but it made me laugh. It made me laugh. I'm like, buddy, you might not have it so wrong. You don't have bills or anything, but you might not have it that wrong. You don't have technology to worry about all the time. And, you're probably not hearing all the bad things. But no, the comedy's all right. And some things I'll say, what I'm learning is I'm not so much of a stand-up comedy guy. That's not really me. My niche, if I'll say that word, whatever, is commenting on things that I'm seeing. Almost like being on a radio show and commenting on what they're talking about. A couple funny things, move on to the next thing.
So how often are you in the car?
Am I in?
How often are you in the car?
Not a ton anymore.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you.
Not a ton anymore. It makes me sad that I'm not in the car a ton. I do it to go drive my son to, whether it's, but that's like a 15-minute drive.
Are you going to start turning the camera on yourself a little more often now, or the microphone? Are you starting a podcast or something?
You know, I don't know. I don't know.
If
I
if
don't
you
know
were
if,
if you were to start a podcast just for kicks, not not even to try to get an audience, just for fun,
yeah,
what would the title possibly be, or the theme?
it would be sports.
Okay.
It would be sports. It
Any
would
kind of
be,
angle?
it would be sports. It would be food. I love these guys, and this one guy particularly, the Barstool Sports guy, I think, who goes around and has a slice of pizza at every place.
Hmm.
Right? That's, to me,
It's a nice life. Yeah.
that's life, brother. That's it, man. Eating a piece of pizza, and he gets a plain slice of pizza, which I think is the only way to truly understand if a piece of pizza is good. Eat a plain slice.
I have a recommendation for you. Although
Oh,
I'm sure the title's already taken, but
yeah.
slowing down.
Oh man, that would be it.
That's your wheelhouse, and
I love it.
you obviously live a pretty busy and high pressured life in many respects. So,
That
if not for
that
the
is
slowing
correct.
down part, your life would probably eat you up. So, and, and
That would be really good, and it would be.
yeah,
There's so much to do with slowing down too. That's
yeah,
the best part. It's not
and it
geared
really
toward one area.
it cuts across every boundary possible, because
No doubt.
whether you're you or me or anybody else we're looking at,
No doubt.
it's probably relevant.
It makes me laugh. Slowing down, even with sports, like I'm watching the Yankees and Red Sox last night, and I know it's a shortened season, and I get it. It doesn't mean as much. You can't tell that to me, right? I don't. There's no. I don't have a thought process behind watching a game. I don't. I appreciate the game, and I appreciate the strategy behind it. So that, and when I say no thought process, it's I could be like, it was a normal part of the game, and we were very quiet. My wife and I were sitting there. She was showing me houses down the beach that we're looking to buy, and out of nowhere, it was just literally one bad strike call,
Yeah.
and it was it was 1-0 on the count. So it wasn't 3-2. He didn't strike
Yeah.
out,
Yes. Yeah.
and it was a little high, the pitch, and he called it a strike. And out of nowhere, in the midst of looking at these beautiful houses, and I lost it.
Can't be helped. Listen, I mean, early second quarter Knicks game, a 4-point Knicks game, halfway through the season, you see a 3-second violation and you jump off the couch. 3 seconds.
My dad still
Flipping out,
laughs at me for that.
and the next 15 minutes, you're gone. I have a final question for you.
Yeah.
Before I have to set my kids up with breakfast, and let's pretend, and hopefully it'll be the case, that this video is existing on the internet, or whatever the next thing is, post internet, and your children have grown up, and your siblings are still around, and maybe their kids are there, and they find this somehow. They stumble upon this, and they watch it all the way to the end somehow, and you have something to say to them at that point.
This is
What
me.
might it be?
This is me. Nothing should come as a surprise to you, is what I would say to them. Nothing. I am who I am. I said it the best, man. That's it. I am who I am. And I am what I am. And that I just want to have fun, man. I just want to have fun in my life. And I'm having fun. I'm having fun every day. Whether it doesn't show sometimes, I'm having fun every day. I don't need much. I need them. I need my family. I need my friends. I need my sports. And I need food. Other than that, I'm good. And I need to laugh.
Yeah. I hope this was fun for you.
I would do it every day, Anthony.
It's kind of a weird thing to do, but why the hell not, right?
Every day. And you know what it's making me think, as a final thing, is, aside from this interview, structured interview, we need to talk more. That's what it's making me think of right now. That's the thought I have in my mind right now. is that we need to talk more. I always feel a sense of calm after I talk to you. I feel a sense of bringing me back to a simpler time when there wasn't so much around, because we can reference that and we have a good past with that and joking around. And I think of how you have the same dynamic in your family growing up and how good of a father you are and those types of things. I don't have that with everybody that I talk to. I don't have many close friends, Anthony, that I consider close friends or want to talk to all the time. I don't. I've lost touch with a lot of people. I'm a little sad about it, but at the same time, they don't reach out either. You know what I mean? So
it happens. Yeah.
I feel like, and we're grown up, right? And it happens, but I feel like when I talk to you, I constantly feel it's almost like therapy.
Uh-oh.
It's how I feel when I get out of my therapist. I feel outstanding when I get out of him.
I feel good too, and I always have a handful of new perspectives, which is
and I always tell Denise, and then she got a chance to meet you, and I'm always talking about you, and how you're one of my friends that I grew up with, that I still talk to, but that I've never gotten in an argument with you.
Never, yeah.
Never.
Can't imagine that happening. Yep. We'll have to change that next time. All right.
And we disagreed. And we disagree about things.
Yeah.
But never an argument about it. And I cherish that we don't have that. I've never. You and Chad Hemingway were the two people I've never had an argument with in my life.
Yeah. Same. I could relate to that.
I thank you for that. But let's talk more.
It's a deal. It's a deal, buddy. Matt,
thank you for this.
Say hello to your family. Give them my love, and my parents say hello, and the whole thing. And
you as well, as well, man. Please say hi to everybody, and I love you, brother.
Yeah, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right, man.
Okay, man. Thanks.
Bye, pal.
All right. See ya. Drive safe.